Hello everybody, welcome to Sonic Talk, episode 572, recorded today, Wednesday the 3rd of April. Obviously, this is just the beginning. We've had April Fools in the way. This is we'll probably get onto a bit of that later on. We've had what have we had? Oh no, I should get the other stuff out of the way. This is a music technology podcast, I think. Yes, music technology, synthesis, music production, recording studios, live performance, live production, all of those things that are around that surround the technology and business of making music. Welcome everybody. I want to say thank you very much to our friends over at iZotope, supporting the show with a prize of their RX7 software. More on that later. And also we have another sponsor this week, which is Softube. Softube's got a new synth out called Parallels, which is on offer from till the 12th of April. We'll have a little message on that a bit later on, and I can tell you what it is. But let's get on and join our guests. I'm going to start over here with Mr. Ty Unwin, media composer. We haven't seen Ty for a long time. Ty is always legendarily busy, particularly on Wednesdays, it seems. But, you know, it's great to have you. How are you, Ty?
I'm good, thank you. It's been a long time.
It has been
really long time, actually. Yeah,
I can't think when it was.
So.
When was it? Last year, probably?
I think it was last year. I don't think I've been on this year.
So, no, pretty sure. So what, scored what, 75 films, 800 TV episodes, produced a couple of albums?
It kind of almost feels like that. No, I'm trying to quieten down a bit, to be fair. I'm trying to I've been saying no to a lot of projects recently to try and kind of clear the books and concentrate on doing some stuff that I want to do. I mean, God, look at that.
Wow, that's
I want to do.
That's a great. That is a great. That's a great thing to. I totally concur with that. I mean, I can see how. I know how it is. Stuff gets in the way, and you really have to make a conscious decision, don't you, to sort of say no, to change the super tanker, as it were.
I mean, I've said to you before. So the last note of music I wrote for me was 1997. So that's now 22 years ago that I last wrote a note of music that wasn't commissioned and was just for me. And I just kind of think it's time to put that right. And so since last May, I've been saying no to a lot of stuff to try and get time off coming up. And it's kind of working. So it's...
everybody's going, no, we don't want to use him anymore. He says no. Yeah.
Exactly, which is fine. So it's good. But I started on Midge's next album, which, I mean, it depends whether you want to talk about it, about the whole setup thing I was telling you about. But that's exciting. It's a new way of doing things. I mean, I can tell you now, or I can tell you later, or it's up to you.
Well, let's say hello to Gaz as well. Maybe we can have a bit more of that in a second. That would be fun.
Absolutely.
And we've also got Mr. Gaz Williams, who's there in his not basement studio. It's an attic studio, but bass studio. Sorry, you're a bit quiet there. I'll turn you up a bit. Okay. Gaz, music technologist, producer, bass player, and all of those things. How have you been?
I'm really happy. Something came through the post today that I've been very excited about. Very small and actually very orange. I wonder if you can guess what it is. Any ideas?
No.
I'll do the big reveal. No?
I'm afraid not. A MIDI thing.
This is the RK005. And wow, what a great little problem solver that is. Because, I mean, that works as a USB host to MIDI. So for all those things like the,
Careful now, I don't want to see anything fall over.
Yes. Oh, no, it's much more organised in here these days. No, USB, that. Connect it, and then gives you MIDI ports.
Wow.
But not only that, there's some other cool things on there as well. There's a cable that comes with it. Mini jack, stereo mini jack to 2 mono, CV and gate as well.
Oh wow, that's cool.
So it's a super cool little thing.
How does it get power?
From there. From
micro
USB to whatever, like you can run it from a battery. I did a little video in Superbooth last year about it. But what's super cool about this, though, is there are other things on the market like the Kenton one, but this you can plug a host, you could plug a USB hub into it, so you can have loads of things connected to it.
Oh, that's cool. They do make some great stuff, don't they? They really do.
They're so clever. There's so much clever things, and they use a little web configurator to make to put all the settings into it, and I have to say the graphics. My wife said she'd wear this.
It's got a bit of a yin yang vibe, hasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but so retro kits. Wow, what a cool little company.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, good to get a little plug in there. Absolutely. Well, I'm glad that
I love them. I think they're
I'm glad that stuff is going well and good and all of these things. So that's marvelous. We had, we should start with this week. I mean, because we've had obviously a couple of things going on. 2 shows. There was Synthplex in Burbank, which Jim Hayward from Synth Memes, who's a friend of ours, he basically covered it on behalf of Sonicstate. There's 15 odd videos up there, but that was a brand new event. There was also the Machina. We were plugging it beforehand, weren't we? And I think it turned out to be a really good show. Lots of people went. And it was very well attended. And then there was also Machina Bristonica, which was in from Elevator Sound. They were kind of quite a smallish shop, I mean, geographically, but they brought together, it was massive. It was in a club called Motion, which is, I'm told, one of the top sort of 10 European clubs. Big sort of 2 big rooms with big sound systems. It's like full-on, it's like industrial scale night clubbing that, apparently the kids love these days, but it was full of synth people. I saw Finlay Shakespeare perform, talked to a whole bunch of people. It was really good. I mean, I didn't film anything there. There wasn't really set up for that, to be honest, but it was that was great. So there's 2 brand new events. I don't know if either of you went. I know you, well, I don't know, you didn't go, Gaz, to Bristonica, did you?
No. Missed that one.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, these 2 new events. It's sort of quite an interesting thing, and I think the like I say, the Synthplex thing worked out pretty well. So maybe that'll be a new one on the calendar. What was the last show you went to, Ty? Was it our event in Bristol?
Yeah.
Wow,
it's honestly, it's fine. All of these shows, I'd love to. It sounds such a bad excuse, but I'd love to find the time to go to them. But honestly, I don't have the time.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't have the time. I may hopefully coming up have the time, but no, I haven't been to one for God for forever. I can't remember. I mean, I would have looked.
You should think about Super Booth, Ty.
No, I know everybody keeps going on to me about Super Booth, but the dates just don't line up for me. They're not good. Not this year anyway. They're really. I know. No, I know.
Chuck us.
Because that's how it works. Yeah. So. I'd love to. But yeah, they just don't line up. But it's the Bristol one sounds great, and I know quite a few people that did go and said it was really good. Said it was for first event. It was really worth going to.
I would say.
How many women? How many women were there?
I didn't count them all, but there were some.
3.5.
Hooray!
No.
There was definitely some. But it's okay. Well, and also we just got news. We've been asked to be involved a little bit with the Bath Music Festival because it's been very much classical up to now. And I've been talking to Will Gregory, who's as well as Golf Rap, he's been involved in the Festival Trust, sort of helping put stuff on, and we're putting together a little electronic music event sort of thing. And we just got confirmation that we've got Apparat, who's a big act, and also Dataline. So they're doing a double header.
Great.
Yeah, in Bath on the 26th of May. When we got more information about that, we'll plug it a bit more and you can buy tickets and come along. So it's about 800-seater, so it's a Sunday night. But if you're in the area, I think it'll be a really good night. So, I mean, Apparat is awesome, and I'm amazed we got him, but we managed to get him, so that's cool. So hopefully the beginning of more great thing.
I saw Dataline do the after show at the end of Super Booth last year. He played a absolute storming set. His ability just to kind of build on the fly and just and to ebb and flow is just incredible. He really is a grand wizard at the kind of.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, really good. In fact, I was noticing that Finlay Shakespeare was using a Digitact for the rhythm side of his things and processing his vote. That was kind of cool. I really enjoyed his set. Actually, it was very good.
Oh,
I met and was introduced to Steve Davis, the famous snooker player, who was also apparently Now he was doing a talk. Milo Melodies, Alex was interviewing him at the Bristonica event. So yeah, it's fun.
Well, he's a DJ now, isn't he?
He is a DJ,
He's a
and
DJ
also into music. Getting into
modular
synths. Yeah. Okay, let's get on to a topic. April Fools. Then, what was your favourite? I have to say, my favourite one was I think, and most was this one because it was so believable. The Korg Vol cassette. That is almost. And it was so brilliantly mocked up, and also it was so Korg, the artwork and everything. So the play, recorder, rewind, 4-track recorder, 7-segment LED. Yeah, what was it? They said it was going to be 1/8 inch. I don't say how much it was going to be. Can you see the Korg? So that was a cracking one, but there was lots more. But it's hard to pull off, I think, because they have to be believable, and most of them aren't. I don't know.
You see, the irony with that one is, I honestly think if Korg released that people would buy it. Yeah. And I think that's the irony, because I'll tell you for a fact, if they released that, I would buy it. And I'm sure I'm not the only one.
No.
Because I remember the days of do you remember things like the Fost XX15 or
the little ones,
the F15 or the Vestax, whatever it was, and little Tascams. And I remember those. And honestly, there's something, and I know a lot of it is rose-tinted spectacles, but they had a certain quality that you just can't get. And I'll tell you for a fact, if they released that Korg, I would buy it, and other people would buy it, and that's ironic. But you're right about the others. You're right about the others. It seemed like quite a dull year for you get good years and bad years. It didn't seem like a great year for April Fools this year. I think honestly, it's because with what's going on in the world generally, which all seems so ridiculous at the moment, that any kind of April, you could put anything out these days and it's believable, because what's actually fact and is going on is so unbelievable.
Well, that's probably quite true. We're a bit, maybe we've become a bit numbed to it. So everything's so ludicrous. I don't know, guys, did you see any? You seem the sort of guy who probably would pull the April Fools, some sort of April Fool on the day.
Of course he did.
I think my favourite one, Ty is bang on. I think if Korg did do that, it would be a huge success. But I think I really liked the Ableton's one with the recorder, which was a kind of thing about like a special Ableton branded recorder that you could play polyphonic stuff on it with a recorder. And I think that was quite good fun. But I think they also released it. I haven't actually downloaded it, but I think they released a little plug-in to go along with it. But the guy...
this thing.
Yeah, there's quite a cool little video there. It's quite funny. And it's like an Ableton branded recorder.
Oh, let's have a look then. We'll give them a bit of a plug.
You know, the times have changed. I remember growing up, it was my ticket to everything. I was guaranteed to be the center of attention. I got gigs, dates, I had it all. But then computers, the world moves on. There's no place for people like me anymore. In jazz clubs, it's not about the skills anymore. It's about the scales. In clubs, it's so loud, you can't hear anything. And
you could hear a recorder, though. Oh, that's Vanessa.
It doesn't matter how beautiful melody is or how good you are as a player. No one likes you unless you play chords. It's a polyphonic world. You know, the recorder was my first love.
That's emotive, isn't it?
But in the last years, I thought it might be done. That all changed today.
I get the picture.
Gaz is just liking it. Gaz just likes the music. That's all he's,
Yeah.
From with recorder.
I want one.
It sounds like a swelling whistle.
At least that was funny. And I think that's the difference, that a lot of them I found this year, they just weren't, some of them had put a lot of effort into it, but they just weren't funny. You know, I'm not going to sit here and name names because it's not fair, because a lot of people did spend a lot of time doing these, but they just weren't funny. Whereas that one, at least that's funny. That's amusing. And
exactly. I think it's
Gaz
fair
would
enough.
buy that.
I think, so far we buy the recorder and the Vol cassette.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. So obviously I targeted us. I thought what was funny is the Vol cassette actually has more channels than the Volca Mix, right? I think just about.
Oh, that's harsh.
Well, except they're not stereo, so that to be fair.
Do you know what would have been funny? They should have should have put an advert out for the Volca mixer. That would have been funny.
Oh, that is hard. Okay, right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should move on before we alienate any of our chums in the industry. Any more of them? They can all take a joke.
They made a great comeback. I had to go with the Volca modular, and it's absolutely slamming. And the Volca drum as well. I mean, that is such a comeback. Those are two cracking little Volcas. So, I think they've atoned, I think.
And the Minilogue XD, of course, which I think we're getting in for review at some point.
Cool.
So yeah, that was fun. So yeah, good. Well, let's just have a quick word from our friends over at Softube, and we can talk to you about the new Softube Parallels. This is an ad, actually, I suppose, rather than us talking about it, because we haven't had it checked out. New from Softube. Basically, they sampled a load of really long evolving waveforms from a very rare collection. So it's not just sort of single cycle stuff. 2 parallel source selections to plug in with dual wave scannings, so you can create some really complex and moving sounds. 2 parallel sources means blended sounds, opening up more possibilities. Up to 14 voices, because it's quite, as with a lot of their stuff, it's quite heavy on the CPU, but it does a lot of great things. Hundreds of expertly created patches from people like Devine and BT, all those guys. 3 analog modular filter types, including a low pass gate. 5 types of modulation source: LFO, random, Euclidean sequencer, step sequencer, and envelope, and 5 built-in effects. And this is available now. I think it's reduced to $129 from $149 till April the 12th. So do check it out. Go over to softube.com and have a look. We thank them for supporting the show. So the next thing that I was going to look at was, here we go. Here's a new synth. This is the Analogue Solutions Impulse Commander stereo dual filter. Or Impulse Command, rather, I should say. Which looks kind of interesting. Stereo. So if I bring it, I don't know, I can't have them both. The stereo synth with modulators, digital effects built in as well, but lots of analog patch points. And I think it builds on, because Tom's done a lot of really interesting work with these kind of sequencers that are very much geared to live performance. Sounds quite beefy, this. I think this is a tease. 24 dB low pass. That sounds nice. So yeah, new from Analogue Solutions. I think we'll probably see it in the flesh at Super Booth. I mean, I've got some screenshots of it here, which are showing up, but there's not as much information, out there quite yet. I think it's going to be about 850 quid. I know a lot of people really dig the Analogue Solutions stuff. Have you got into the Analogue Solutions world? Because I know some people it's like an addiction. Once you got one, they've got to have more because of the sound. It's got a very specific sound.
It does. I have. I've got, what have I got? I've got a fuse box, I've got a couple of Nyborgs, and I've got a Mega City sequencer. And I've said this so many times that if you want that kind of late 70s, early 80s kind of analog sound, the best people that do it are Tom with his Analog Solutions and Dreadbox. Dreadbox and Analog Solutions are the two companies to go for that kind of really raw sound. And I love Tom's stuff. I think the Analog Solution stuff is really good. I have to say this one is slightly less me, because as you say, it's more concentrated on or not concentrating, but it's very integral, the sequencer side of things. And I'm kind of, what I've found over time is the fact that having things with integral sequencers for me is less my kind of bag, really. I mean, I bought the Mega City because it's very specific, it's very sophisticated sequencer, and it's unlike any other kind of step sequencer. But yeah, the sequencer on this looks really clever and it sounds great, but it's just, I'd be using it more as a module, and I think I'd be kind of wasting it. But it's sound-wise, you can't beat them. They're fantastic. Really good. Really good.
Yeah, we should be seeing this. We'll be there at Super Boo with that. But yeah, I don't know if you had a chance to play with any of this. So I know Doty's a massive fan of it.
I haven't played with this one yet. I think there's a few things that are really interesting with it, though. I mean, the price point, I think, it was a lot
$850.
Yes,
more affordable
than I was expecting. And the thing that's quite cool about the sequencer is you've got a 16-step note sequencer and a 16-step sort of regular sequencer, and you can run those sequencers together and do all sorts of interesting stuff. And there's a knob on there which I think is called note order or something like that. And I think if you turn a knob a complete turn, it'll make the sequence run in reverse. But then anywhere in between, I might be wrong about that. But anywhere in between, you can make the sequence kind of jump around a lot. So it's a really performer orientated approach to sequencing, which I think looks really cool. It's got a really nice presence about it. I think it looks kind of like can imagine that being quite a centerpiece in a lot of people's setups, and it follows on a certain trend that we've seen over the last few years of the semi-modular. This idea of
the sort of desktop thing,
the desktop, but can kind of like link with a modular rig as well, so I think it's a very clever move. And as I say, at that price point, I think it makes makes a lot of sense, and I think he's going to do very well with this one. I think
so too, because it's accessing that. This is the other sequencer, the generator, which I suspect some of his sequencing chops from this have ended up in the impulse command, definitely. But it looks good. Like I say, we'll probably hear a bit more. It's not shipping yet, but I think we might be able to get a hold of one. But we'll see where we get with that. So yeah, what else? Oh, there was another synth, isn't there? Have you seen this? The Moogfest. Speaking of which, coming up, as they often do, is they release something to the engineer kind of VIP tickets, and this is we think this is going to some kind of vocoder / fixed filter. And I think that's Steve. I forgot what his surname is now, doing this. So this is going to be what you can build at Moogfest. And Moogfest is coming up towards the end of the month. So if you're lucky enough to get one of those engineer tickets, that'll show up and you'll be able to build that. And I think that's one of the interesting things. It's become a thing now for Moog, isn't it? That because it happened with the DFAM. It wasn't Mother 32, but it was the start of all of that form factor they kind of introduced into the engineering builds, the Werkstatt. So there's a number of things. So I think it's a great idea, and it's something completely different. Although it seems like I know they've got such a rich heritage. It looks like that's probably some stuff that you've got the big Moog. Have they got fixed filter banks on that? Did you get the fixed filter bank part of that?
Yeah, I mean I think the only thing that kind of was slightly disappointing about that was actually the definition of the vocoder, which wasn't great. But I mean, apart from that, if you kind of ignore essentially the definition of the vocoder words wise, I think it sounds really interesting. I love the idea of these little projects say little projects. They're not little projects. These instruments that people can go and build and be part of the festival. I think it's a great idea. I have to say, if it was on the doorstep, I'd try and get to them. But I think it's brilliant. I think it's, and I've got a DFAM and which was one of them, and I think it was a Mother 32 one before that.
I don't know if it was, but it was introduced. I think it was.
I think the Werkstatt was a kind of like a prototype to the Mother 32.
You're absolutely right. Then the DFAM, the DFAM became
was introduced.
So I mean, it's. I think I love the idea of it. I think this one in particular sounds interesting, but
Yeah, maybe not
Sounds-
immediate.
that's okay.
Well, I mean, I suppose the thing is also it's not another subtractive VCO with the Moog ladder filter built in. It's something that's actually a little bit different. I mean, the DFAM I guess is
Exactly.
different as well, so that's kind of cool. And in my view, I mean, because they I forgot what they did. It was the Minotaur they reissued, and I just felt that was a little bit kind of like, it didn't really kind of float my boat. But so this looks a bit more interesting. But yeah, Moogfest 25th to the 20th. I've not been actually. We've been trying to go, and we were going to go one time, but it falls really badly. It always fell because it's Music Messer this week, which we're not going to, and then that would be just before Super Booth. So I just don't think I can make it work, unfortunately. But one day I'll get there. I'm sure I will. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners are probably going and we'll probably have a great time there. I think the thing about it, because it's like a citywide thing, isn't it? It's for somebody like us who would want to cover it from a journalistic point of view, it's much harder because everything's geographically sort of interspersed around the city. So it's not quite the same. It's not quite as easy to cover. So everything has to be kind of right. You haven't been, have you, Gaz?
No, but next year, hopefully, I want to play there next year. That's my
right.
plan,
Okay,
so.
That's what you're working on. Okay,
I'm working on it.
Okay,
got some arm twisting to do.
Right. Well, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
I don't see why you wouldn't.
I heard a rumor.
I
heard a rumor that this new one is going to be called the Matriarch, but that could well be a joke. So
I heard something about Matriarch as well.
They've taken, apparently they've taken out the copyright on the name or whatever. So there is going to be, if it's not this one, there is going to be a synth called the Matriarch. Apparently.
Well, to be honest, I mean, Matriarch sounds like it's going to be something fairly kind of. It's like Mummy Alien, the big Kahuna. Well, Kahuna's probably not the right word to use, but the big something or other. So, do you know what I mean? It feels like that might not be something this big. It's more like to be somewhere in the region of Moog 1 territory. I would guess, having a name as impressive as that. Because if it was the Matriarch and it was like this big, it would kind of be a bit weird, wouldn't it? I don't know. We'll see. Okay, all right. Well, that's that one there. Let's. Did you see that? I don't know if you saw this. This wasn't in the notes, but I just. This was iZotope have just bought Exponential Audio.
We've spent the last 19 years trying to hone the art of digital signal processing.
Who are a big reverb guys.
Is to create a fantastic reverb. So when we thought, who's the partner who can both help us to provide reverb to the world, but also push the state of the art forward, Exponential Audio and Michael Carnes rose to the top almost immediately.
Exponential Audio started out in this very room we're sitting in now, and soon after Exponential Audio began to take off, I began to investigate good partners. Believe it or not,
it's all a bit busy, businessy this, but basically, as we know, iZotope, very long time supporters of this show, they haven't really they do things to get rid of reverb, but not so much to create the reverb. So they've sort of chosen this. I don't know about it. I'm guessing, Ty, you might know a bit more about this because it's more post and more sort of really high-end stuff. I mean, have you heard of Exponential Audio?
Yeah, I have. I've got a couple of things. I can't remember what I've got. I think I've got R2 and R4, and I've definitely got Excalibur, which is a kind of multi-effects specialist. It's really good stuff. It's top quality stuff, and I think it really makes sense from iZotope's point of view to get someone of that kind of quality in, because let's be honest, the reverb on the iZotope stuff, like on Ozone, which is only meant to be a kind of smear at the end, but it was always kind of the weakest link. It was never great. So actually getting these guys on board and incorporating it either within iZotope products or just selling it via them, I think it's great, cool, because they make really good stuff. It's really good quality for the money, really good quality.
Okay, and they do kind of multi-channel and surround sound stuff as well.
Yeah,
really
they do lots of It's big
in post apparently, which makes sense because iZotope as well, I suppose.
Yeah,
What do you think, Gaz? I mean, I think there'll be some interesting products coming up.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, there really is that gap in when you look at what is in the current sort of iZotope lineup. There really is a gap when it comes to reverb. I would beg to differ with Ty a little bit about the reverb that was in Ozone. I think when it went to Ozone 6, I think they dropped it. So I think it was only up to version 5. But that little reverb, it was. I loved it. I mean, I used it a lot in mastering because I used the theatre model particularly, and I would just use it just on the sides and just to give a little bit of. So I got a runny nose. I would just use it just if I wanted to give a little bit. If something felt a bit dry, it was just really nice just to kind of give a little bit of depth. And I was always thinking, if they've taken that out, I bet they're going to have something nice coming along in the reverb area to replace it. And this looks amazing. And I mean, as we know, iZotope are super smart, aren't they? Their signal processing is second to none. So this really feels like a match made in heaven. I know Rich Hilton was very excited about this link up, but it did get me thinking. I mean, I believe that Exponential Audio is mostly this one fella, isn't it? So when you've got a lot of software companies are one person and maybe another person who helps with the graphics or whatever. So I think this is great because iZotope can handle all the business side of things, and then they can just totally tap him for his expertise. So I think it's going to.
And he's got a great voice. He's got a great voiceover voice as well. He sounds fantastic. So he'll be able to do the videos as well. Yeah, it's really good.
Right.
Oh well, that's good. Well, I suppose.
It's work out a treat.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what's coming up, and that's probably going to be happening quite soon because if they've announced, they've probably got something in them, and the domain already moves over to iZotope, so they're quite far advanced down the plans, which probably is a good time to mention our competition, and which, as ever, is introduced by a little word from iZotope themselves.
RX continues to be the industry standard and leader in audio repair for music and post-production. And with RX7, we've introduced groundbreaking new ways to quickly and easily fix and manipulate audio. Take the game-changing Repair Assistant, an intelligent helper that can detect noise, clipping, clicks, hum, and more. Also new in RX7 is Music Rebalance, a powerful source separation tool. Drums too loud? Vocals not loud enough? Let's fix that. You can also create instrumental versions of songs by removing the vocal elements. You can now alter the pitch without affecting the timing of your audio, and conversely, alter the time without affecting the pitch with the new variable time and variable pitch modules. Using the new dialogue contour, you can improve the performance of a line or even create a new performance by altering the pitch contour of the dialogue, therefore adjusting the intonation of the speaker, and introducing Dialogue Dereverb, a module powered by machine learning to reduce the presence of reverberations around dialogue. RX7, a new frontier in audio repair.
And of course, you can check their stuff out if you just go to iZotope.com. You can always download a demo for that. We have a competition winner for last week. Someone called JJ or at Wonder Choco. They tweeted the winning combination of hashtags and was picked by the computer. Desperately need some damage limitation. Also for my brain, RX7 will help a lot. Love JJ. So if you get in touch, JJ, you will now get yourself a copy of iZotope RX7. And we're doing the competition again this week. We're looking for the hashtag Reverb Remover, which I thought was kind of apt, seeing as they've just acquired Reverb. Acquire and remove. You can do it in the same gig. Reverb Remover, one word, and the hashtag RX7, one word, to at Sonicstate and at iZotope Inc. That's Reverb Remover and the hashtag RX7 to at Sonicstate and at iZotope Inc. That's via Twitter. So do enter, and we thank them for providing the prize for this week's show, as ever. Right, where was I going to go next with this? There was, what have I got video for? Let me have a look here. I was going to look at there was an article on Create Digital Music about the fact that Apple have released an update which is supposed to fix some of the issues that modern USB audio interfaces were having. This is the USB 3, USB 2 stuff, not the USB-C, I believe. But it was to do with the security chip, and they fixed that. But it raised some interesting points as well about the fact that Windows kind of force you to do operating system updates, but they provide you with a way back, so you can have system snapshots, and it's very easy. Whereas on the Mac, it's actually not quite so easy. There are apparently, although I did find there is in fact APFS, which came in 2016. It's a file format that does allow you to create snapshots, and you can do it from the command line. So you can create a kind of back in time snapshot and then restore it as well. It's well looking into if that's something that you haven't got. But this sort of thing should be built into modern operating systems, I think. I know. For instance, you, Gaz, you had exactly this problem before. The problem is, though, that from what I can tell, this utility stores the snapshot on the system drive, which is a bit pointless because then if you wanted to restore it as in because your system drive was knackered, your system drive and all your snapshots would be knackered unless you'd backed up the whole lot. So not sure how that works.
Yeah. I've just been going through it myself because, my Mac, my Mac Pro died mysteriously. It was just on it. This is the tubular Mac Pro or the
trash can,
or whatever, trash can. It died. And then, so I had to give it to Apple to repair, and the repair bill was creeping up and up and up. And they asked me if I wanted to go on further with it, and I said yes, because it, I just had to really. And eventually, they couldn't repair it, so they gave me a new one, which was higher spec than mine.
Oh, is it?
So
you did that? It did work out because I asked you. I said check the spec when it arrived. Amazing. What did you get?
I thought it was so well. I mean, the thing is, when I got mine, because I'm a cheapskate, I always get, I'm the opposite of Ty. I always get the bottom of the range things. So I'm like, I got the bottom of the range Mac Pro when it came out. That isn't when they replace something, it has to be the equivalent, but that wasn't available anymore. So they gave me the one that was £1,000 more than the one I paid for.
Wow!
So
what did you get for that? More RAM, better CPU,
better CPU. It's about a quarter faster.
Oh wow! Well, there you go. Result.
So I thought it was like dead money, and it's turned out really, really good in the end. I mean, it's a bit mad that the Mac Pro is still on the market now, because it is like essentially still in its 2013 spec. And I guess they're just selling them until something new comes along. But anyway, back on point though, was I had to make a decision whether I wanted to restore from my Time Machine backup or go just and do fresh. The whole thing from scratch. So I chose to do this. I chose to do it from scratch, and it's been a long process, but I'm nearly there. I've got most of it in there, and I just kind of thought, well, I don't know what caused it to die in the first place, but I just thought, well, if I just install all of the latest stuff without the kind of legacy, and through doing a lot of reviews and stuff, it's meant that I've had to have a lot of
install, loads of crap on there. That's a very fair point. I think it's probably a good idea.
It worked out. And I have to say, to be fair to Apple, I mean, I have been kind of ragging on Apple a lot lately, but customer service, when it works out, it can really work out. And then this is really one of these examples of where it worked out really, really well. Because I mean, that was a machine that I bought nearly 5 years ago. So, well out of warranty. That was so there is, occasionally a good.
Occasionally it does work out. Yeah, I know what you mean. We have to replace the motherboard, but the only motherboard we've got is better. Yeah, sometimes that does happen. I don't think we've ever talked to you about this because, I mean, in your high pressure work environment, your machine just has to work. I mean, have you got like mirror systems? So have you got the same again sitting under the table that you can just plug in, or do you just how do you deal with that?
Do you know what? I've just I don't even talk things up.
It's too painful.
It is. No, it's just I've been so lucky because my system is so complicated and so all over the place that the idea of backing up drives to drives and systems is such a nightmare that I have the most unbacked up system known to man. And I basically just work on the assumption, because I write so much, if I lose, the main thing is I've got my mixes. That's honestly the way I look at it. I've got mixes of all the tracks I've written, and if I lose everything, I lose the projects. But the reality is I've got all my old music, and all I do is I just start again and write again, because I looked into trying to back it all up, and it's just ludicrous. It is ludicrous because I've got such an amount of huge drives and whatever. So every now and again, I will just take a drive, literally like a 24 terabyte drive, and then I'll then just go and buy another 24 terabyte drive and manually back it up.
But what about the actual system itself? You know, the system drive with all the installed plugins and whatnot. So same deal.
When it goes, when it goes, it goes. I know. But the thing is, it's also that I've just been really lucky, and touch wood. I am touching wood. It hasn't happened, but if it does happen, I mean, the main thing is I think I've told you before, so I've got quite a sophisticated traveling setup. So again, what goes on in my head is if I'm in the middle of the project, I'll just go and work on the laptop until it gets sorted. And if it can't get sorted, I'll just buy a new system. And it's, it's really...
It's interesting though, because I mean, a lot of people in your position, generally, you know, who are working a lot, they'll have an assistant who just takes care of all of that stuff. But you work very much solo in that respect, so you're not doing
completely.
I know, but it's curious as well because I imagine, you know, you're working for, you know, large broadcasters and publishers and whatnot and TV companies. Mm-hmm. I wonder, there must be now some of these people who are saying it's your responsibility to make sure that you've backed up all of this stuff. You know, if you don't and we want it, then you could get in. There could be penalties, you know, involved in some. I mean, I'm guessing not with you, but because you've got a long working relationship. But with perhaps new people, there must be an element of that where you have to have kind of almost. They almost have to provide a sort of data integrity plan as part of the service level agreement as a composer. You know,
I don't think you're far off the mark. To be fair, I think that's fairly. I think you're probably right. But I mean, I've kind of never crossed that. Fortunately, but I don't think you're wrong, put it like that. But to be fair, I also have to say exactly like Gaz said, is that if something does go wrong and fails, there's almost, and this sounds so bizarre, there's almost a sense of, okay, it's almost relief going, okay, I can now start again. Because the idea of, do you know what I mean? Because I know for a fact that my system, I look at my system and it's so bloaty. And so I know for a fact that when I buy my next, whatever the new Mac Pro is going to be when it comes out, when I buy that, I will never copy it off Time Machine because I don't even use Time Machine. So basically, I will literally take that blank machine and start from scratch again. And it normally takes me about a month, once literally just a month of trying to get everything back on, because you can imagine how ridiculous my system is. But then I have a fresh machine and that will keep me going for so many years. And there's almost a sense of satisfaction of, okay, I haven't got to deal with all the crap that's on there. It's
I suppose so.
But I did used to do the thing when it was the old Mac Pros of having a duplicate system. So I used to have everything that I was on one system. I used to have an exactly identical system and kept up to date with that. But then nothing ever went wrong. And
you're very fortunate.
I know. And what's happened with the new one, with the trash can, is just the fact that because everything has to hang off it, and the, you know, before we were talking about, you know, 500 gig here and 500 gig there, and that's fine. But now all the drives that are hanging off all mine are, you know, they're so stupidly big. Well, I suppose the thing, what I'm saying is, though, once you've got it set up, I mean, obviously the library data, the kind of samples and stuff are going to be massive on an external drive, but the kind of core, this machine works as is, right? Print that. So therefore, I can always get back to where I am now. Yeah, okay, you know, if I lose my sample libraries, then I do. But at least once I've set it up, then I can just go, just take a snapshot of that and overwrite my current image.
I should do that.
Yeah.
I should do that kind of now, I think, because
I think, you know, I have to say, when you're talking about it like this, it kind of scares me, and I do actually kind of think, I really do need to do something. The issue is I've got Time Machine drives just hanging there that I never use. I should switch them on, shouldn't I?
Just press the button. Push the button. You know you should. Okay. You should.
Yeah. I feel bad.
There was one thing. I had a laptop stolen off stage, which was really, really horrible thing to happen. Yeah, but I'd also, I had with me, I had a bunch of external drives, which were the backup. I had the backups and the machine with me, which never do this, everyone. Never have your backups and your computer in the same, because basically the laptop bag was stolen, including the laptop and the backup drives. So I lost loads of data, like loads of data. And you know what? It was like a bit of it was, I mean, it was a pretty awful thing in many ways, but there was this thing of like all of those unfinished things that have been gnawing away at me. Like,
gone.
They're just gone.
Kind of like they were gone. It was like, hallelujah! I can start again now. I don't have all that kind of legacy stuff. Loop. I got a great excuse. It's gone, and it did feel quite liberating. Like liberating. Sort of data liberation.
Yeah, that's a good
thing,
title for the show, I think.
The thing is, Robbie knows this because I've had this conversation with Robbie before, but I'm the same with gear, honestly, because, I have a few bits and bobs, and so many times I just sit there going, oh, God, just get rid of everything. Literally get rid of everything, because there's that kind of feeling that once it's gone, exactly like Gaz said with these half-finished ideas, once it's gone, there's a kind of, okay, I now have no choice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I do take your point, and I think that's true in a lot of things in life. But that is a direct. Yeah, some people are saying in the chat room, I would over Time Machine, I would carbon copy cloner every time. If you use carbon copy cloner and you create what's called a sparse image, that you can then continue. You can use a sparse image and you can write to that, and then you can update it and keep it updated. And you just take also what a sparse image does is it also doesn't copy the unused space. So you just create a disk image. We've got like a drive here which has just got loads of sparse images on it, which are snapshots of various things. And on a Mac, it's well worth doing. You just do sparse image that, snapshot it, and then it's like you could then restore that to a bare metal hard drive and it would be as it was. So that's worth doing. That's carbon copy clone. I don't think it costs much. I think there might even be a free version of it, but it's I would rather use that because I tried to use the Mac onboard imaging system, which was before Time Machine, and it never worked properly. So carbon copy cloner I know will work, and definitely.
Okay, I promise you, I will buy that and I will do that.
Thank you, Ty. It makes me feel a bit more.
One of the things, though, was I was using a iLock that was, the virtual iLock, which is tied to your motherboard. So that was one thing that was a bit of a problem with my last computer, meaning that a bunch of software I was kind of locked out of because I had to get in touch with the software companies. And that, do you know what? They were really, really good, actually. They dealt with,
must happen all the time.
Toys and... Yeah, I guess so. But it did make me think, though, that if you're using sort of soft, it has made me wonder about. I hate dongles. It's probably a long, as most people know.
Really, Gaz? I didn't know
that. But that thing, if the company didn't have like support or had, or even if the company didn't exist anymore, and you used like the kind of that method for sort of locking to an iLock, the soft iLock, then you'd be up the Swanee River, wouldn't you? It would be kind of you'd be locked out of your software.
It would be a nightmare.
So
it would be a nightmare. You're right. How about something just simple like a piano? Do you see Nord announced a new Nord Grand, which has got a nice kawaii keyboard. Don't know how much it's going to be. It looks expensive, but it does seem like it will be another red keyboard we're going to see about the place. It's got synth sections and the usual stuff. But the idea is I guess it's a full 88 by the looks of it. They do sound like... We did a thing on pianos last week with the Noir. But this, in terms of hardware... Oh, that's nice. I don't know. I know your keyboard player... your keyboard player uses Nord, doesn't she?
Yeah. And I mean... I was having a chat with some of the guys from Nord at the Synth Reactor event a couple of weeks ago, and was just kind of reflecting on the fact that Nord have been so successful in the live environment, so much so that they kind of, I mean, obviously they make the leads and fantastic synths, but they sort of really kind of focus their business model more on the kind of live world. I suppose, rather than the more experimental stuff. I'm talking specifically about why they didn't keep on with the Nord modular, but what's fantastic about Nord is that they make really, really great instruments that work well within the context of regular kind of rock and roll instrumentation. Really good. I always really appreciate that with Nord. They always manage to sound just right within that. Whether you choose to use them on recording. Well, saying that, we have quite a lot anyway. I was going to say over soft synths. That would be a debate, but we do actually. We use them all the time. But I really think Nord are just one of those brands that have just managed to keep their reputation just right. In fact, a lot of the bands I play in, the keyboard players use Nords. In the Charlotte Church band, the guy uses a Nord. And well, lots of things I've done Nords are. Yeah. They're kind of. And I really think that's
they've got something. They've got something right, definitely right.
They got it absolutely. So I think always the piano stuff always does just work really well in that particular context. I've seen that they've also got those monitors that look like studio monitors that you can mount.
Yeah, they sound really good. They're quite big though. But in the chat room, Synth Jam says in the chat room it's going to be 10 grand. So it's an expensive thing. It's not. It's going to be. Yeah. So they're not. I know, okay. Ty. I don't know. You do you have any Nord stuff? I'm not sure you do. Do you? It's not your thing.
Yeah,
is it?
I do.
Oh, you do?
No, I do.
I beg your pardon.
Yeah. My stage keyboard of choice is a Stage 2EX. I've got a Nord lead and things for the studio, but yeah. So I've got a Stage 2EX. Funny story behind it, basically, which is because I had an Oasis and I had to go and do some live stuff with a band, and so I'm a big fan of the Oasis, and this was just when the Kronos came out, and obviously the Kronos is a kind of cut down Oasis. So I said, okay, well, for the stage stuff, I'll go and buy mainly piano stuff, and the Kronos has a beautiful piano in it. So I went and bought a Kronos, came, started programming it, and I had it for about 4 days, and took it back and bought the Stage 2, essentially because the piano was so much better on the Stage 2. And the ironic thing about it is the one on the Kronos is, I don't know how many gig it is, but it's a big piano. And the samples in the Nord were, I think they were like 200 meg or something like that. And it really did absolutely prove the point that it's not how big it is, it's what you do with it. And
yes,
it's true. No, I've seen it, guys. No, I haven't. I've just read it. I haven't.
What are you
saying? The start.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. So no, because the thing is about the Nord pianos, and I know this is a real bone of contention. Some people just don't like them, but from I'm a pianist. I have access to proper pianos and whatever. The Nord pianos feel like an instrument. They feel like they've been programmed by someone that's a musician, and there's a musicality to them. And what it felt like with a lot of pianos, including the ones on the Kronos, is that technically they're great, but as a musical instrument and a musical sound, they don't hang together so well. And the thing is with Nord, they don't use that many samples, but what they do with them is amazing. And I love the Nord pianos, and I wouldn't look anywhere else. If I was going on stage and you was wanting a piano, I mean, if I couldn't use I've got a V piano. If I couldn't use that, I would take the Nord any day of the week. And the other thing is, just in relation to the new one, this new instrument, is that if you play the Kawaii action, that action is beautiful. That action is the nearest thing you're ever going to get to a proper real piano. That's, you're paying a lot of money for that Kawaii action because it is incredible action.
It is. Beautiful. Well, I mean, as we discussed last week, we were talking about pianos, and I was just sort of saying, okay, it was the Noir, the Nils Fram's Noir. Yeah. And the piano that sampled off will cost you 130 grand. So. Well,
this is the thing when you. Yeah, this is the thing, is that if you really want to get into the piano world, kind of realistically, to get the best of the best, you have to pay those kind of prices to get the best. And kind of, so if you can get, but at the same time, that they're works of art. That's the thing. They're works of art. They're not. It's a proper musical instrument. So, it's kind of, when we talk about spending what is a lot of money for us compared to real instruments like that. It's nothing. So, but I think I have to be honest with you and go, I think 10 grand is going to be, their sales are going to be, we'll say, limited.
Yeah,
but,
I would imagine so.
But at the same time, there will be a market for it. And, but I love Nord stuff. I think Nord stuff's really, and the build quality, second to none. So,
cool.
Except the gig bags. The gig bags that they got, they always fall to bits.
Okay.
So that's the only bit. The Nord themselves are super cool, but the gig bags fall to bits.
Right. Okay. Well, that's worth knowing. That's always worth knowing, that kind of information. I think we might have actually reached the end of our topics that I can fit in today, because I've got before I go, actually, I want to say there's no live show next week, because next week I'm on theatre sound duty. I'm going to repurpose the X32 and I'm doing the sound for Sister Act in the half term with 20 radio mics, which I think is going to be quite challenging. Ooh. Quite a challenging exam. But I did record an interview with Carolina Ike a couple of days ago, and that will be playing next week. So we'll skip a kind of announcement, but we'll have all the other. It won't be live, so I'll post that. So we'll be talking, and then the following week, or the 17th, we're in talks with Tara Bush, who says she's going to do a live performance from LA for a Sonic Talk. So we're just going to figure out how that would work best. So she's going to be on the show, and because she's plugging her Patreon and doing lots of creative stuff at the moment, also is gearing up to do live streaming sound, so at performances. So she said, "What, can I come on and do that?" And I thought, "Yeah, great." So we're starting to plan ahead, which is unheard of.
And Tara, of course, she's the reason that I got to meet you in the first place, and how
absolutely, it's the connection.
Yeah.
So that'll be nice.
I'm getting all teary-eyed.
You can't tell. You can't tell. Okay, brilliant. Well, I think that's probably it for this week. So I want to say thank you very much to everybody. Don't forget, if you want to check out the Softube Parallels, brand new soft synth from them, if you go over to softube.com, that's on offer. It's like 129 from 149 up until the 12th of April. Well worth checking out. And also do enter the iZotope competition. We're looking for the hashtag Reverb Remover and the hashtag RX7 to @Sonicstate and @iZotope Inc. to win a copy of RX7. But that's going to be it for this week. So, Gaz, thank you very much for joining us. Been a pleasure to have you on, as ever. I hope your cold gets better.
I know, it's just today. It's just come on today. Don't know where it came from. Just a quick little plug. Behind me is the Electron rig. Oops, that's really rubbish. Let me just tilt that up a little bit. Ta-da! There. And I'm going to be doing a live stream about that sometime in the next week or so. So watch out for that. I'm just going to just
go and subscribe to your YouTube channel, right? And then you can then people can just get notifications.
Yeah, that'll be the way to do it. Yeah. And I'm just going to do some absolutely pointless noodling, so people will be welcome to join me on that little journey.
Okay, brilliant.
Yes.
Well,
I'm sure
they will. I'm sure they will. No, you're welcome. Thank you very much, Gaz. And Ty, and we're so pleased to have you on again. I hope we get you back again soon. And it's been a pleasure as ever.
I'll try. No, I will. And when I'm on next, I'll talk you through the Midge setup thing, only because it's interesting from a synthy point of view. So
yeah. Oh, yes, definitely. Sorry, we didn't get onto that, did we?
It's fine. It's absolutely fine. It's going nowhere. It's going nowhere. But it's just going through various versions, and it's from a synthy, nerdy, techie point of view. It's just an interesting concept that's probably worth having a chat about. So
definitely.
We'll do that next time.
Okay, super. Well, that's it for this week. I want to say thank you very much to everybody once again. We will see you live, not next week, but the week after, which will be the 17th, where we hopefully have Tara Bush performing live. So if I hit that, and we can all sort of wave our goodbyes, and then I'll press the end button, and we'll see you later. Thanks very much for watching. That was Sonic Talk 572.